We often talk about mental toughness as if it's something you're born with,
Yeah.
like blue eyes or a knack for numbers.
Right. Innate.
But the fascinating truth, and research really backs this up, is that it's far more like a muscle.
A muscle.
Yeah, something you can actively train and strengthen with the right kind of, well, exercises.
And that's precisely what we're diving into today. Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to building that mental resilience.
Okay.
We're going to unpack a specific set of mental exercises. They're designed to help you move from feeling completely swamped by the daily grind
Which so many people feel.
to facing challenges with genuine confidence and a sense of control. And the really powerful part,
What's that?
it's a focused daily routine that clocks in at just 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, that sounds manageable. So let's get down to brass tacks then. Why does daily life often feel so taxing?
Good question.
It's rarely one catastrophic event that derails us, is it?
No, usually not.
More often, it's the subtle, almost imperceptible accumulation of those everyday stressors. Picture this. Your phone buzzes with urgent emails before your feet even hit the floor. The commute turns into a parking lot. You face unexpected criticism on a project you poured your energy into, and then your crucial software decides to glitch out. Individually, any one of these might seem, manageable.
But as our sources detail, for many of us, this isn't an isolated bad day. It's the consistent low-level hum of pressure. That kind of defines modern life, doesn't it?
It really does. And the crucial insight here is how easily we dismiss the impact of these seemingly minor irritations.
We just brush them off.
Exactly. On our mental well-being, our ability to concentrate, and our overall productivity.
So they add up.
They really do. And what's particularly interesting from a physiological perspective is that even when we don't consciously register, say, a snarky comment or a frustrating tech issue as a major threat, our bodies often respond anyway.
On a primal level.
Sort of, yeah. This can trigger the release of cortisol and other stress hormones. Now, when this happens repeatedly, because of these unresolved low-grade stressors, it contributes to something called allostatic load.
Okay, allostatic load. Let's unpack that a bit further.
Sure. Think of it as the cost your body pays for constantly adapting to chronic stress.
Like wear and tear.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
essentially the cumulative wear and tear on your physical and mental systems from that ongoing effort to regain stability in the face of chronic stress.
And the research indicates this isn't just like a theoretical concept.
No, not at all. It can have tangible long-term health consequences. We're talking potentially impacting cardiovascular health and even weakening the immune response over time.
Wow. Okay, so it's serious stuff.
Precisely. And when we consider larger setbacks, like missing a critical project deadline,
Right.
it's rarely the result of a single monumental blunder. More often, it's the culmination of numerous smaller moments throughout the week where stress just eroded our focus and our cognitive capacity.
So each little thing chipped away.
Yeah, each minor stressor acts like a tiny drain on our mental resources. It makes it incrementally harder to think clearly and work efficiently.
And it's not just a matter of feeling frazzled, is it? Our sources highlight some compelling research
From occupational psychology and neuroscience, yeah.
demonstrating a clear link between this chronic low-level stress and measurable declines in cognitive function.
That's right. We're talking about reduced capacity for sound decision-making, a dip in creative thinking, and just a general struggle to maintain concentration.
And that's just the work side.
Well, exactly. This persistent stress doesn't stay neatly compartmentalized, does it? It inevitably bleeds into our personal relationships. We might find ourselves quicker to anger, maybe less patient with loved ones, or simply withdrawing emotionally because our internal resources are already stretched so thin.
Makes sense. And then there's the critical connection to sleep.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Stress often disrupts our ability to fall asleep, stay asleep, and get that truly restorative rest we need.
Right.
And as the sources emphasize, this creates a damaging feedback loop. Poor sleep makes us more vulnerable to stress.
And stress wrecks our sleep.
Exactly. Just goes round and round.
And what's quite remarkable is our capacity to just get used to this.
Yeah, to adapt and normalize this state of ongoing low-grade agitation. We might believe we're managing, coping fine,
Really?
but often it's acting as a silent energy thief, leaving us feeling perpetually drained without fully understanding why.
And that brings us to the less obvious costs, maybe, of not actively cultivating mental toughness. The sources make it clear that this isn't just about occasionally feeling stressed.
No, it's more pervasive.
Hmm.
It can lead to full-blown burnout, missed opportunities because we lack the mental clarity or sustained energy to pursue them.
Right.
And that persistent sense of being overwhelmed, like you said, like you're constantly struggling to keep your head above water.
So it's really fundamental.
Exactly.
Mm.
So reframing how we view mental strength is crucial. It's not some desirable extra, a nice to have.
It's a need to have.
It's a fundamental necessity
Hmm.
for truly thriving and navigating the inherent complexities of modern life with, resilience and effectiveness.
Yeah. Okay, so we're painting a clear picture of the problem, this relentless accumulation of daily stressors and their significant impact. But our sources also bring up a really thought-provoking point. Some of our go-to strategies for coping might actually be undermining our mental resilience in the long run.
Ah,
Are
yes.
some of our ingrained daily habits secretly sabotaging our inner strength?
That's a critical question for all of us to consider, really.
Hmm.
We often develop these routines and habits thinking they offer some comfort or maybe a quick fix for managing daily
Yeah,
pressures.
that makes sense.
However, when we examine them more closely, through the lens of long-term mental well-being, many can turn out to be surprisingly counterproductive.
The sources highlight several common examples, things like that endless scroll through social media,
Guilty.
the immediate reach for caffeine or sugary snacks for that fleeting energy surge,
Mm.
and even the tendency to postpone or, avoid difficult but necessary conversations. These might feel like small, harmless indulgences or temporary escapes in the moment.
But the research suggests otherwise. As our sources clearly state, these common habits can subtly weaken mental fortitude, making it harder to cope with life's challenges. Let's take a closer look at one particularly prevalent habit: doom scrolling.
Right, doom scrolling. That relentless consumption of negative news online, it's so easy to get sucked into that vortex.
It really is. But the sources explain that this constant exposure to negative information, while it can reinforce a negative worldview and heighten anxiety, it directly undermines efforts to build resilience.
So it's like we're training our brains.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
Training them to constantly scan for and fixate on potential threats and negativity.
That sounds exhausting.
It is.
Yeah.
And as the source material emphasizes, this habit can create a cycle of negativity, making it harder to cope with stress and eroding confidence. The more we immerse ourselves in distressing headlines and negative feeds, well, the harder it becomes to maintain a positive outlook and manage daily challenges. Confidence takes a hit.
Another fascinating area the sources delve into is perfectionism, often, lauded as a virtue.
Right, like it's a good thing.
But this relentless pursuit of flawlessness can actually be a significant drain on our mental resources.
Absolutely. The sources highlight that this inability to accept imperfection can lead to chronic stress and fear of failure, which directly weakens mental fortitude.
So holding ourselves to impossible standards.
It backfires. Even minor mistakes or anything less than absolute perfection becomes a source of significant stress. It creates a cycle of self-criticism and anxiety, which undermines mental strength.
And the impact goes beyond just feeling bad about yourself.
Oh, yes. The sources also point out that this can lead to a constant state of low-grade agitation that just drains mental energy and makes it harder to bounce back from setbacks.
Which leads to.
Well, crucially, this can also lead to missed opportunities and that pervasive sense of being overwhelmed we talked about.
Because you're afraid to even try.
Exactly. That fear of not achieving a flawless outcome can be incredibly paralyzing. It prevents us from even starting tasks or taking necessary risks.
Okay. Then we have the tendency to consistently avoid discomfort.
Oh, avoidance, yes.
This can manifest in various ways, right? From procrastinating on challenging tasks, sidestepping difficult conversations.
To avoiding new experiences that push us outside our established comfort zones.
And the sources are quite clear on the consequences here. Such avoidance limits the capacity to handle challenges.
It essentially keeps our mental muscles weak and untrained.
Like skipping leg day.
Kinda, yeah. Every time we shy away from something uncomfortable, we miss a valuable opportunity to build the resilience we'll inevitably need when facing more significant difficulties later on.
So avoidance prevents us from building that resilience needed for life's inevitable difficulties.
Yes, and this pattern contributes directly to missed opportunities and feeling overwhelmed. It's like wanting to build physical strength without ever challenging your muscles. By avoiding challenges, individuals miss opportunities to build confidence and develop coping mechanisms.
The sources also address the critical role of sleep hygiene. which, interestingly, you mentioned, can be negatively impacted by these other habits, like late-night doom scrolling.
That's right, they're often linked. And the consequences for our mental strength are substantial. Poor sleep hygiene directly impacts emotional regulation and cognitive function.
Both crucial for mental strength.
Absolutely. When we're consistently sleep deprived, our capacity to manage our emotions effectively and think clearly is significantly impaired. Insufficient or poor quality sleep can exacerbate stress and anxiety.
Making it harder to cope.
Exactly, making it harder to cope with daily challenges, and it can even contribute to burnout, missed opportunities, and feeling overwhelmed. Plus, it often leads to a decrease in motivation and focus too.
Okay, finally, let's discuss that persistent inner critic negative self-talk.
The inner voice.
The sources highlight that many people are unaware of their internal critical voice, yet it constantly erodes confidence and resilience.
It's that ongoing, often subconscious internal dialogue filled with doubt, self-deprecation, and pessimistic predictions. And this internal criticism can undermine self-belief and make it harder to handle stress.
So it's not just about being tough on yourself.
No, not constructive criticism. It's about recognizing and actively shifting those deeply ingrained, automatic, negative thought patterns that just chip away at our mental fortitude. Recognizing and changing these patterns is crucial for building mental strength
How so?
because it allows individuals to reframe their thoughts and develop a more positive and supportive inner dialogue.
Okay, so becoming aware of these often unconscious habits that weaken us is a vital first step. Now let's move on to the proactive strategies. Building that unshakable inner strength.
Yes, the positive steps.
And the encouraging news is that our sources outline a surprisingly effective approach that requires just 10 minutes of focused effort each day.
Exactly. The core idea here is that you can fundamentally change the way you respond to stress and cultivate lasting mental resilience through a relatively short daily practice.
So this 10-minute mental toughness workout isn't about adding another demanding task to your already packed schedule.
Not at all. It's about strategically integrating brief but powerful exercises into your existing routine.
Now, I can imagine some listeners might be skeptical. Can just 10 minutes really make a noticeable difference against these ingrained stress responses?
It's a fair question. But the sources emphasize that the power lies in the consistency of this daily practice and the application of specific evidence-based techniques.
All right, let's break down this 10-minute routine step by step then. The first 2 minutes are dedicated to what our sources call positive reframing focus.
Okay, so each day you consciously identify one negative thought that's been lingering, or maybe an anticipated stressor you're expecting to face.
Right, this could be anything. An upcoming challenging presentation, a persistent worry about a personal issue, something specific.
Exactly. And then the key is to actively reframe that thought. Choose a more constructive and empowering perspective.
Like the example in the sources, shifting from "I'm definitely going to mess this up" to something like,
This is an opportunity to share what I know, and I prepared thoroughly. It's about finding that alternative, more helpful framing.
okay, so identify the negative thought, actively reframe it with a positive mantra or perspective.
That's the essence. And the effectiveness of this lies in the fact that this technique is rooted in cognitive restructuring. It's a method shown to calm brain activity and reduce the impact of negative thoughts
So you're consciously steering your mental narrative.
towards a more positive and resourceful direction, yes, setting a better tone for the day.
Okay, that's the first 2 minutes. For the subsequent 2 minutes, the routine involves a mindful acceptance moment.
Right. Now, this isn't about suddenly embracing the stressor or liking it.
It's not about pretending it's fine.
No. As the sources explain, it's about learning to accept the presence of a stressor without judgment, allowing yourself to detach slightly.
Detached.
Detach from the situation enough to choose your response rather than react impulsively.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed by an approaching deadline, the practice here is to simply acknowledge that feeling, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, without immediately judging yourself for it or panicking.
So you notice it, but don't get swept away by it.
Exactly. This creates a crucial pause, a space between the trigger, the deadline, and your habitual reaction. It gives you agency to choose a more considered response.
And the sources say this can actually stop anxiety from escalating.
It can be surprisingly effective in interrupting that spiral, yes. Just acknowledging without judgment.
Interesting. Okay, that's 4 minutes down. Then for the next 3 minutes, we move into goal visualization.
Right. The core idea here is to briefly visualize successfully navigating a challenging part of your day. And importantly, focusing on the feeling of competence and calm while you do it.
So mentally rehearsing success.
Basically, yes. Creating a mental rehearsal of the positive outcome for a specific challenge you anticipate encountering. Say, handling a difficult conversation effectively.
And focusing on feeling competent and calm during that visualization.
That's key. By vividly imagining yourself handling it well and focusing on those positive emotions, you're actually building proactive coping strategies, as the sources put it.
You're kind of preparing your mental pathways for success.
Exactly. Priming the brain.
Okay, 3 minutes on that. The following 2 minutes are for a perspective shift. What's that involve?
This involves taking a brief moment to reflect on a past challenge you successfully overcame, reminding yourself of your inherent resilience and capacity to handle difficulties.
Does it have to be something huge?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be some monumental life crisis. Any instance where you demonstrated perseverance, where you got through something tough, will suffice.
And the purpose of that?
As the sources emphasize, actively recalling these past successes builds self-efficacy.
Self-efficacy, meaning?
Your belief in your own ability to succeed in specific situations or accomplish a task. It reinforces the internal knowledge that you have a proven track record of navigating challenging times and emerging stronger. You've done it before.
Right. Reminding yourself of your own strength. Okay, that's 9 minutes. Finally, the last minute of this 10-minute routine is gratitude acknowledgement.
Yes. Simple yet powerful. You quickly list, mentally or written down, 3 small things you're genuinely grateful for.
Small things.
Yeah, really small. Could be anything. A warm cup of tea, a moment of quiet, a kind word you received, the sun shining. Doesn't matter how minor it seems.
And why gratitude?
The sources explain that this simple act helps to shift focus from deficits, from what's wrong or lacking, to abundance, to what's good. It boosts mood and promotes a positive outlook.
A quick way to end on an uplifting note.
Exactly. Fostering a more positive baseline for your day.
And what's truly encouraging is that the sources underscore that, much like physical training, these short daily mental exercises yield compounding benefits over time.
Absolutely. It's not about one heroic effort, but about the consistent accumulation of small, focused actions.
That gradually train your brain to manage stress more effectively.
Yes, and maintain a more positive perspective and cultivate that inner resilience we're talking about.
So this 10-minute routine really demonstrates the impact of short, consistent practice.
It powerfully illustrates that significant impact, yes, on your overall mental well-being and resilience.
So the power to fundamentally transform your response to stress isn't about committing hours to some intense training regimen.
Not necessarily, no. It's about these focused, consistent 10 minutes each day. You now have a practical blueprint for building that profound mental strength.
A manageable blueprint.
Very manageable. And as our sources consistently highlight, it's not about becoming completely immune to stress. That's unrealistic.
Right, stress happens.
It's about developing the inner resources and, importantly, the confident knowledge that you possess the tools to navigate it effectively and emerge from challenges even stronger.
Okay, so here's our encouragement to you, the listener. Start today.
Don't wait.
Pick just one exercise from that 10-minute workout, whatever resonates most strongly with you right now, and commit to practicing it.
Just one to start.
That journey toward greater resilience truly begins with that single intentional step. It's about transforming those daily challenges into genuine opportunities for personal growth.
And there's research supporting this too. One study found even just 30 days of brief daily meditation measurably increased mental resilience. It reinforces the effectiveness of consistent practice.
Little bits add up.
They really do. Ultimately, mental strength isn't about the absence of stress. It's about knowing you have the inner capacity to navigate it effectively and emerge with greater strength and wisdom.
Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Really insightful.
My pleasure. Great talking through it.
Until our next exploration, keep learning and keep growing. Bye for now.
Goodbye, everyone.